The new Penn Station expansion at Moynihan Train Hall is here. North America's busiest train hub has just gotten a renovation. With more space and leisure for people riding the Amtrak and parts of the Long Island Railroad and parts of New Jersey Transit as well, it's been compared to Grand Central Terminal in terms of its beauty. In honor of this, let's take a look at the storied and slightly tragic history of Penn Station. Penn Station is named for the Pennsylvania Railroad, or PRR, a major railway company that once owned over 18,000 kilometers of rail. Originally, most railroads did not go into Manhattan, terminating just across the Hudson in New Jersey. This was a problem for the PRR. Its rival, the New York Central Railroad, ran trains into Grand Central Terminal in Midtown Manhattan, while the PRR did not. Thus, planning for the original New York Penn Station began. Designed by the architects McKim, Mead, and White, it was completed in 1910 and was considered a masterpiece of early 1900s architecture. When it opened in 1910, the New York Times wrote, as the crowd passed through the doors into the vast concourse, on every hand were heard exclamations of wonder, for none had any idea of the architectural beauty of the new structure. Suffice to say, it was a big deal. Around 1,000 trains move in and out of the station every single day, and it solidified the PRR as a major player in the railway game. So, what happened to it? To put it simply, cars. The massive station was incredibly profitable in its early life, the PRR experiencing its best fiscal year in 1944. However, this began to change after World War II. With the construction of the interstate highway system and the government in general beginning to favor cars rather than trains, Penn Station, instead of being the golden goose of the PRR, instead became a financial burden. The company wanted out. They sold the development rights to the station in the 1950s, signaling the end of the historical wonder. Demolition started in 1963, and the land was replaced with a sad, dull, and modernist Madison Square Garden. However, all was not in vain. Outcry from the demolition of the station prevented other New York City landmarks from suffering the same fate. The New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission, or LPC for short, was created 2 years after the destruction of Penn Station. The LPC now protects over 37,000 properties, including Grand Central Terminal, very nearly suffered the same fate as Penn Station. But this story is not over yet. Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who is the longest-serving senator of New York, campaigned for the restoration of the old station that he used to work in. He proposed to expand the station into the underutilized James A. Farley Building, an old post office. Originally, construction was set to begin in the early 2000s, but New York being New York, it obviously got delayed. With multiple redesigns over the years and no real work actually starting on the project, it seemed like it would meet the fate of many other infrastructure projects in the city. In 2010, thankfully, things started to look up again. As part of the financial recovery from the Great Recession, funding was secured for the transformation of the station. With ground broken in the same year, the first phase of the project, the West End Concourse, connecting the station to the post office, was projected to open in 2016, until being delayed and opening in June 2017. After this, the actual transformation of the post office itself began. The Moynihan Train Hall opened on January 1st, 2021, reviving at least a small part of the old spirit of Penn Station.